Hello, welcome to the Freedom from Anger podcast. Hope everybody's doing well and had a great February. Now it's get to the middle of March. Hope everybody's getting ready for St. Patty's Day here in about a week. Don't have too much fun, but stay out of trouble. Just want to check in with everybody. I've been kind of dragging my feet on getting these podcasts out there. I apologize. Just been a crazy year so far, but hopefully things will calm down in the next few months, so we'll see. Just want to remind everybody, I do have a Patreon set up, or you could pay, I think, through the Spotify app. Looking to put some more content up there for subscribers, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But also, if you know anybody that's struggling with some behavioral health issues, whether it be anger issues, substance abuse issues, relationship issues, if you could send them over to our website, freedomanger.com, and reach out and get a hold of me. And we do offer free assessments, anger assessments, stress assessments, things of that nature. So never hurts to look. But just please, if you know anybody that's looking for those services, send them our way, or just send them the link to our podcast. A little bit of education goes a long way. That's kind of the slogan of the podcast, self-help through education. I'm a huge proponent of education. But enough of me yapping. There's a great interview, a very knowledgeable man, Jake Kastleman, and we're talking about a subject that's kind of uncomfortable, but I do believe it needs to be brought up, and that is porn addiction. So if you want to learn more about that, listen to his podcast. And as always, stay safe. Welcome to the Freedom from Anger podcast. I'm joined today with Jake Kastleman. He is an intensive recovery coach specializing in porn addiction, among other things. So we'll definitely dive into that. I'm so grateful to have him on today. Jake, how you doing today?
So good, James. It's a privilege to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, it only took us 20 weeks to get here, so we're here now.
It's all my fault. But
No, it's all good. I'm happy to be here.
tell me a little bit about yourself. When you're dealing with porn addiction, that's kind of a niche field in psychology. How did you come about specializing in that?
I appreciate the questions. I think I probably have to start with the fact that my dad has been in the field of helping people with porn addiction recovery for over 20 years. He was the writer of The Drug of the New Millennium. It was maybe the first, if not one of the first books to really put together the brain science of pornography addiction. When he put that book out, plenty of professionals laughed in his face and told him that porn is not an addiction. It's just normal. Sexuality is built in and that could never be addicting. How could it be addicting? Now, 20 years later, it's an epidemic. I suppose based on who you ask, some people still think it's not an addiction. But if you go to the people who are suffering with it, they would definitely say this is an addiction. For me, it started there. I grew up in that household and learned a lot about that from a young age. Interestingly enough, I wound up with my own pornography addiction. And that started when I was 12 years old. I kept it very secret, very hidden. Maybe the fact that my dad did specialize in all that and I knew this is something that I shouldn't be dealing with added to some of my secrecy and desire not to divulge what I was going through. What I've explored with a lot of my clients and what I was going through that I didn't understand at the time is a lot of religious and sexual shame that I went through at that time that really played into that addiction. I think often people misunderstand that shame plugs right into addiction. We become addicted to things because we fear them, feel ashamed of them, we want to keep them secret. All the fear and shame severely intensified the experience of my natural curiosity as a young man, and then the secrecy, all that fear, shame, and the negative emotion created an addiction, right? So it was ongoing every day. That went on throughout my teen years. I kept it secret. I didn't tell anybody about it. And then into my early 20s, I started to make discoveries during those years. At 17, I started to understand that it was something that was not serving me, right? It was not helping me. It was taking from me. And I felt it was impacting me mentally and emotionally, spiritually as well, right? That's important to me. And I was like, this is just something I'd really like to not do anymore, but I do not know how. And I think culture and society taught me just shove it down, ignore it, distract myself from it. And I ended up learning a very different lesson. From the time I was 17 to 22 were some really deep years of understanding, what is this whole addiction thing? Again, I had a dad who was teaching people that you'd think I'd learn
Mhm.
something. What leads to this? Because it's not just as simple as, yeah, it's pleasurable and it feels good and stuff, but I also hate this because I'm wasting so much time. It's draining out my dopamine levels and I feel depressed and anxious all the time. My confidence is lacking. My potential is not what I want it to be. I can't meet these dreams, things that I want in life. Why do I keep going back? So I developed, starting at that time, and now it's been 15 years, I developed a curriculum of how to develop a recovery mindset and a recovery lifestyle. And I came to understand that it's not about stopping the behavior of addiction. It's about building a mindset and a lifestyle of recovery. In other words, relational, mental, spiritual, physical, building out my life in such a way that brings me peace. I feel fulfilled. I feel connected. I'm successfully processing through my thoughts, my emotions, my beliefs. And that has all developed into what I see as an extremely hopeful approach, not one that is focused on shame or fear. Stopping the behavior is really a symptom of building out a life in which you feel happy, right? You feel connected, you enjoy your life, and you're really acting as a witness for your emotions and your thoughts, right? If I can witness my emotions and my thoughts and not judge the crud out of myself all the time, I can actually step back and say, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? Give myself acceptance and compassion. And I can do that for other people, right? That is such a fundamental piece of recovery, both anger and addiction, and then porn addiction, because as we were saying before, addictions, we go to them for slightly nuanced reasons, but they all have the same underlying roots. It's ignoring my emotions, ignoring my thoughts. It's judging my thoughts and emotions, trying to control all my thoughts and emotions, escape them, resist them. If I can instead go to them, give acceptance and compassion to them, and process through them, then I understand things like grief, loss, anger, sadness, loneliness, all these things. If I can fully feel and accept them, see these parts of me that carry these burdens, be like, hey, I understand you. See what you're going through. It's okay. And I can write that out, think it out. Now I'm entering a space of a recovery mindset rather than just trying to ignore or escape these emotions all the time. It doesn't serve us, but we're taught to do in Western society all the time. It's like,
Mhm.
just don't don't look at the insecurity. Fake it till you make it, shove them down. And that leads to a lot of anger and a lot of addiction.
Oh yeah, definitely. You hit on a ton of uh, key points that I'd love to expand on. And
Yeah.
you're right. We're taught to ignore our emotions, especially when they're bad. Society tells you if you're feeling sad, you go get drunk. If you're feeling this, then go have sex. If you're feeling this, then go do these various things. What I like to tell the people that I work with is you might be coming to me for anger management or something of that nature. No, it's emotion management.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's
That's
a
good.
crucial area that everybody needs work in because the emotions that we feel are like the cornerstone to our entire lives. It's our emotions. If we cannot
Yeah.
manage them correctly, we're off to a bad start in anything we do. and it leads to various addictions. I'm a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, and I'd be hard pressed to find individuals I work with who did not have anger as their baseline. Let's work on this anger. Where's this anger coming from? If
Yes.
if if I'm happy, if everything's going great, why would I feel the need to escape life and reality? Where's this
Yes.
anger coming from? So you focus on that one thing, and it opens up a whole world of possibilities.
And I love that you said that too, because it makes me reflect personally. My whole life, as you're saying, my baseline was anger. And it's so interesting because it's like a fish swimming in water. Did I know I was angry all the time? No, not at all. I thought that I was very infrequently angry. Thought it was, yeah, nothing really gets me angry much. I'm pretty even keeled. Turns out I was just always angry. That's why I didn't realize I was angry. I had gotten sober from pornography, and it was interesting because I just jumped from one addiction to the next. I got rid of some of the more destructive addictions, but then I got addicted to things like exercise and nutrition and work and productivity, right? And all these ways I was trying to earn my worth.
Mm.
And I'm in my mid 20s, and for me, I believe in God. And so I was just praying and saying, how do I become a better person? And I remember just getting this inclination. You got to let go of your anger. And I was like, what anger? And over the coming weeks, it became very apparent to me, like, oh my gosh, I am always angry. And so that kind of, again, next step, I think when we go through recovery, we just go through all these phases and next steps. We're always going through them, starting to understand what's underneath this anger. And of course, we find insecurities, burdens, issues with self-worth and shame and fear. These are the things that are really underneath anger and addiction in many ways, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you actually examine, hey, I'm an easygoing guy. Hey, it's cool. But
Mhm.
the whole time, like everybody around you is like, no, you're angry all the time, or you're the only oblivious one
Yeah, you're
to
so
what's going
uptight.
on.
Uptight, you're so rigid all the time, and you're so obsessive.
Mm,
No, I'm not.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, and I'm definitely guilty of that.
Mhm.
Like coming up, like my dad, he's calmed down in his old age, but growing up, he was
Of course.
definitely I want to say,
You're like, how do I
yeah,
say this kindly? It's my own father.
yes,
Yeah, I'm on the air. Got to say it kindly.
yeah, I'm trying to.
We all got stuff, right?
He took, as he would call it, nerve pills. I don't know what they were back in the day. They called it nerve pills, but he was amped up all the time.
You're trying to deal with this pain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all
But
got
yeah,
ways to deal with our own pains, right?
but when you grow up in an environment like that, that's how you resolve an argument. This is how to resolve an issue. If I yell louder than the other person, then this other person's going to back down.
Yes.
And I saw that growing up with my dad and my mom. She would just kind of, okay, whatever. He's
Yeah.
loud. Oh, well, I'm processing this as a young child. This is how you deal with women.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's go into adulthood with this mentality. And guess
Yeah.
what? It's not right.
Yeah. You unconsciously learn, okay, this is the strategy. This is how I handle problems. And to your little kid brain, how are you going to be able to differentiate that? That's just what you pick up. So, yeah, you imitate it later in life and you're like, why am I being angry? That hurt me so bad when I was young. And it's like, well, that's what you learned. It just dug its way deeply into your brain. It takes a lot of processing and awareness to get through that.
Yeah, it's that whole learned behavior. So when you're working with somebody with sex addiction, like what's the first step that you take?
The first step that I take, so this comes from, it's kind of cognitive behavioral to some degree. It's also personal for me. I start with daily routines. So that would be physical, mental, spiritual, relational being relationships. What are things that you're doing on a daily basis to bring some structure to your life, to bring some wins to hopefully the mornings? I tell my clients that's the best time to kind of start where you're at with something that's going to bring, again, some fulfillment, some structure, a win to your morning, give you some upliftment. And what is that for the client, right? It depends on, do you already have daily routines and they're going well? Awesome. Love it. Then let's move on to the next step. Do you have no routines? Let's maybe start with one, right? That's like 10 minutes or 5 minutes in the morning just to get some things that, again, we all have, we're whole human beings. Okay. We've got our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, and our relational health. I think that's often one we somehow don't include in our kind of individualistic Western society, at least. And so I have relational dailies with my wife and my son of things that I focus on each day. Like these are routines for me of things that I do with them. So I work on those with the client to get those integrated. And then we move into some specific processes I have for processing through thoughts and emotions and training them on those in their daily assessments and within things we do in session as well. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we are, you know, we love our habits. We love our routines. We love, the security in, hey, this is what I do every day, whether it be, hey, this is the route I drive home every day and I see the same things every day. And I think there's a lot of security in that. And to be able to, and I just love how you approach it to where, like in the mornings, like, hey, this is how I'm going to get my day started.
hmm
I'm gonna get started on a good foot,
hmm
so to speak.
hmm
And I'm gonna make this a tradition. I'm gonna make this a regular thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most of us didn't grow up in a household where there was routine in the morning. It's usually like wake up, you know, throw some food in you, and then like try to catch the bus, and
Yes.
it's just chaos.
Yes. Well, I think for me, I used to just get up maybe on time slash late most of the time, throughout my teenage years and not quite into my early 20s because late teen years, I was starting to practice some of this that I teach my clients. But I just wake up and so I'm starting the day off stressed out and late, you know,
Right.
don't know, no kind of structure. I'd eat cold cereal and then head out the door. And it's like, then I was always relapsing and had all these addiction issues. And I don't, how would I have known? But to me, it's like, if you start your day, how do you start your day? If you start your day just with no structure, no wins, no good feelings, you're just hopping out of bed. Well, it shouldn't be a surprise when the rest of your day is just this chaos or this unfulfilling experience. I think our morning makes a huge difference
Mm.
in our life as a whole. That's the time I spend in the morning. It's been the kind of foundation for my entire recovery. There's a lot of other things I could point to too, but it's been important. So,
Yeah, because if you're feeling anxious and stressed, getting ready to go to work, then that's going to carry over into your drive to work. It's going to carry over into you at work
Mhm. Mhm.
versus really trying to come up with a way to, okay, to be grounded in waking up in the morning. Okay, this is what I got to do, and kind of lay things out and not really be stressed.
Mhm.
Yeah, you might be stressed on the drive to work because people don't know how to drive, but yeah, but that's a part of the deal. And
Mhm.
if you carrying all this stuff into your job, then it's gonna possibly create some problems in the
Yeah.
future.
I think I think we often have this unrealistic expectation, and again, it comes from Western culture and society. And I don't know. I don't live in Eastern culture, so I don't know. I know some of those things, but
Yeah.
in Western culture and society, we separate work life and personal life. And while I understand some of the merit to that, you can't fully separate those two things. You are a human being. If your personal life is garbage, work life, it's going to impact work life somehow. And we expect ourselves to just kind of turn off our human side when we get to work and become this
Mhm.
other version of ourselves. Where I think a better way is, let's get some things in your relationships, get those worked out and going. Let's get some things with your physical health, your diet, your exercise, improved. Let's get your ability to process through your emotions and your thoughts and to restructure some of your beliefs. And then let's get your spiritual life going. If we can do some of those things, well, then maybe you don't have to willpower your way through all day at work and be exhausted. Willpower is exhausting. And then you get home and you binge out on Netflix and, just chow down on junk food and then you finish the night off with porn and you're like, what happened? It's like, well, dude, you were stressed out all day. You just your body's done. Your brain's done. So having some of those things that actually increase your level of motivation, like you were saying, increase your level of mindfulness and feeling peaceful inside and actually feeling connected with other human beings. Now, motivation is such this thing that it's not just you're motivated or you're not. It's how are you supporting and increasing that motivation on a daily basis.
Yeah, and it's funny that you talk about motivation. And um, when I tell people this, they're kind of awestruck. They're like, "That doesn't make any sense." But whether you do something or do not do something, you're still motivated. You're
Mm,
motivated to do nothing. You're motivated
mhm,
to make a change. So
mm.
if you're in addiction or anything, yeah, you could be motivated to do nothing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we view people as, oh, they're not motivated. No, yeah, they're motivated to do nothing.
yeah.
So you have to get them, to try to get away from that.
Well, and it's one of the things I say is addicts are some of the most motivated or some of the most driven. What should I say? They persevere, right? They're some of the most diligent people that I know. They are so loyal to their
Mhm,
addiction. So come hell or high water, I am getting that fix. I'm getting that addiction.
mhm,
That level of drive and passion, that fire, it's incredibly powerful when it's directed
mhm.
towards something that is meaningful and brings good into the world. We just need to learn how to actually be able to direct it, right? Which takes, it's not automatic. Takes
Mhm.
some changes, and that's okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've said for years, it's amazing the willpower of an addict.
Yeah.
Like you will, crawl through glass to the next county to get a fix, but your child is across the street and you won't go visit them.
Yes. Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
amazing how our priorities get shifted, and it's just that mentality. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, one of the things I say is you're going to find your purpose somewhere, whether it's in things that bring you hurt and pain or things that bring you joy. You're going to find it. So what's it going to be, right? And what's that habit? If you have a habit of finding purpose in things that are destructive, then that can draw you in and you can keep going back to it again and again. You're like, what's wrong with me? It's like, well, you've been seeking out destructive things that hurt you over and over to that's been your motivation. So it takes some time to redirect that motivation towards things that are actually going to um, bring you fulfillment, bring you joy in your life.
Yeah, yeah, and I know with a lot of people that I work with, when you talk about shifting beliefs and restructuring those beliefs, and to me, they go straight back to Albert Ellis. I don't care what anybody says, it's the grandfather of CBT. He he was around first. Everybody likes to psychology. We love to switch things a little bit and make it our own, but no, he was the first. He was the first to take those Stoic philosophies and put it into practice, which was at the time against the Freudian viewpoint of psychology. But yeah, we have to challenge our beliefs. We have to question the things that we've been taught. Because, like we said earlier, like you know, we're blank slates when we're born. Everything that we believe is programmed. We're like a blank computer. We're just programmed.
Mhm.
And if we don't question those things, if we don't figure out, okay, this is working for me, this is not working for me, that's how a lot of, you know, unfortunately, a lot of hate, a lot of ignorance gets spread throughout the generations because nobody ever questions the things that they were taught. And it
Mhm.
and these things might have been taught to you by a elder, your mom, your dad, your granddad. Doesn't mean they're right just because you're related to them and they're older.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to question those things. Like if I keep getting negative consequences from believing this way, then maybe it's time to question whether or not this is right or wrong.
Well, and I think, I reflect on a couple of things with that. You know, I think that many of us need someone to facilitate that questioning of beliefs. Someone who can step back and take an outside view in our life and ask us a quality question. And I that's one of the things that I focus on very often with my clients is getting those questions and often from a compassionate standpoint, where so many of my clients just lack any self-compassion when they start in the program. If you can ask yourself, you're making that choice or you have this belief or you have this thought process about who you are or this thing about life, what do you think that part of you is trying to protect you from? Or what do you think you're trying to keep yourself safe from? Or what's the underlying fear underneath that, perhaps? I think that it can be hard to step back and ask ourselves
Mhm.
those questions. And one of the big things that I see with people who struggle with addiction is we deal with a lot of beliefs of judgment and control. And I don't say that in any kind of shaming way. Say that in a way of you were taught to try to judge and control yourself into doing things your whole life. Let's stop. Let's try to over time replace the judgment and the control, which often leads to then escape and resistance. In other words, addiction, because it's,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I'm judging myself all the time. I feel so much perfectionism and shame. And, I'm so critical of myself. Yeah, of course you feel like you want to escape with something. My gosh, it's a lot of pressure. How about we practice instead deep acceptance and compassion for yourself? That can help empower you to make changes. Because if you can get in that space of self acceptance and self compassion, Now it's not like hitting your head against a brick wall all the time. Like, why can't I just be more diligent? Why can't I just be more disciplined? It's like you're, you are burnt out all of the time. So that again, it goes back to some of those things that they sound so simple, but so many of us don't have any practice with that self-acceptance, self-compassion. And one of the beautiful things about that is when you can do that for the parts of yourself, right, that carry burdens, that feel this anger, all that, now you can actually start doing it for your loved ones and the people around you as well. And that's amazing.
Yeah, that definitely goes in line with, I don't know, I should come up with a name with it. I guess my big three,
Okay.
and I've said this for years. It's like whether or not you're in a alcohol and drug class or domestic violence class or anger management, it's like, okay, if we can work on these three things, then we're off to a good start. And number one, love yourself. Number
Hmm.
two, forgive yourself. And number three, forgive others. Because I think those are the three things that we struggle with the most. Is we'll say all day we love ourselves, but do we really? And do we really forgive ourselves, or are we carrying around all this baggage and, like, talking down to ourselves, the negative self-talk, and then forgiving others? Oof, man, there's people carrying around grudges that are 70 years old, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and being allowed to let it go and just let it go. And I remember working with or I was trying to work with an individual. We're actually doing a consultation, and we just had a little chat, and he got upset. Surprise, surprise.
I guess that's
He's
what you're
like,
there for.
yeah. So he's like, so you're telling me that I need to forgive all the people that have done me wrong? I'm like, I was like, yeah, because like, what are you gaining from carrying all this around? And needless to say, I didn't hear from him again because he was just so attached to
Right.
all the. I said they're sleeping just fine at night. They don't
Hmm.
remember doing you wrong, but yet you're
Hmm.
carrying this around day in, day out,
Yeah.
all this anger, all this frustration,
I
and it's
can't
not worth
remember.
it.
I can't remember who said it. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. I forget who said it.
It's is it Buddha?
I believe so.
I think it
Yeah.
was Buddha.
I
Yeah.
was going to say Confucius, but I think it's Buddha. I think you're right. It's true. And for me, it's interesting that you say that, love and forgiveness because they're such these ancient concepts that have always been there. And I think we can be pretty quick to discount them, but it's deep fundamental truth. There's a reason it's been around for so long. Yeah, it's deep fundamental truth. And it's ultimately the answer in a lot of ways to pretty much all of the issues that we face mentally or emotionally or in our relationships, love, forgiveness. And I think one of the things that I've come to that has been fundamental for that is understanding. If I can understand someone to the deepest, most fundamental level of whatever it is I'm holding a grudge against them for, I understand why they did what they did, what caused them to do what they did, the pain they're carrying, how they got to that place. I write about it. I think about it. I seek to actually get into that space of deepest understanding. Now I can let it go. Now
Mhm.
I can actually love them. And I got to do that for myself. I think, to be honest, I think that's the most important thing. If I can do that for myself in all things, now this door is opened where I can now do it for the people around me. And we often don't take that time to understand ourselves, write about it, think about it, look at it. And I think we're really hard on ourselves for things we did as kids. Man, I did this or that. I was so messed up. I was such a jerk, or how could I be so stupid? And all these things that we say to ourselves, and we carry it around. And one of the things that's been impactful for me and for my clients is you were a kid. You were a kid. Like, how you didn't know any better, you know? You're just dealing with the situation the best that you knew how at the time. It's okay. And I think when we can give ourselves that space of like, yeah, that space of understanding, now we can forgive ourselves.
Mm.
And that's going to enable us to forgive other people. And it's not an enablement or an excuse thing or justification.
Mm.
It's just, yeah, maybe whatever the mistake might be, yeah, it wasn't the right call. Man, you know, sucks that I
Mm.
did that. I shouldn't have done that. How did it affect other people? But if I can deeply understand it, now I can actually go into a place where I can make amends, make things right. If I can't understand, I'll just stay stuck in this loop my whole life as long as until I die, if I don't ever
Mhm.
give myself understanding.
Yeah, I always say just give people the grace to be human.
Mm.
We're we're all flawed. We all make mistakes. And then when we put that magnifying glass on other people and we expect them to do right all the time, yeah, we're going to be disappointed because guess what? They're human,
Mhm.
as we are human, and we have made mistakes in the past. So we have to give them that grace to make mistakes.
Mhm.
And if somebody's done me wrong, I mean, there's two paths I can go down. I can go down the hate path or I can go down the learning path. Okay, well, the example I always throw out there because it's just a simple one. It's like, say I lend Jimmy $20 and he doesn't pay me back. And I've just totally given up on Jimmy and the heck with him. We're no longer friends. So I've gotten rid of an entire relationship over $20 versus, okay, well, I lent him money. He didn't pay me back. Maybe next time, don't lend him $20. You know,
Yes.
if if you're a lend money, don't ever expect to get it back. It's a
Yeah.
gift,
Mhm.
and it's really a gift if you get it back. But 9 times out of 10, if you can't afford to lose it, don't give it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'll work on with my clients as well. That's so important for both addiction or anger is boundaries. And boundaries, we have to hold that for ourselves, right? It's not about what the other person's going to do. It's not about controlling them. It's not about any of that. What am I willing to authentically give, right? How am I going to help out in the situation? Or what am I not willing to authentically
Mhm.
give or show up in the situation? And that's it. And so, yeah, if Jimmy, was it Jimmy? If
Yeah.
Jimmy, didn't pay me back, yeah, then you just, okay, well, that's Jimmy's choice. Now, next time, if Jimmy wants money, I'm not going to give it to him. And he can scream or cry or do whatever he wants to do. Hey, man, I hear you, but I'm still your friend, still love you. And
Mhm.
it's just not going to lend you $20. Sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Not an easy
Yeah.
thing to do, though.
Yeah. And a lot of times, I know with me personally, a lot of those Jimmies are family, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
kind of draw that line. It's like, they try to tug on your heartstrings and stuff. Hey, lend me some money. No, because I've learned in the past. Yeah, no.
Such a hard thing to do. It's hard.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
hurts, but
I mean, if you're down the hole, I'll help you. But you keep digging, I can't help you. You know,
mhm.
I'm not handing you another shovel to keep digging. You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah. Sometimes the kinder thing to do is doesn't seem kind at the time, but yeah, sometimes it's that to not help in the way someone wants.
yep, yep. Well, all righty, man. I'm just sorry we had so many technical difficulties and
Yeah.
everything, but I think we got a lot of good information out there. Now I got to figure out how I'm gonna piece together two different recordings. And, so
Sorry, man.
that's fine. I'll try to figure it out somehow. But
Hopefully it's fairly smooth transition.
yeah, I think I can figure it out. I don't know. We'll see.
Have you ever, so do you have an audio program, I suppose, that you go in and obviously edit with and do all that stuff with?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Because you're saying you have Descript, so, oh, good.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I think
hopefully it'll be,
I think I can copy and paste it into the original audio, so it should be able to transition there. But
how do you convert video to audio typically?
um, video to audio, um,
Does Zoom automatically just give you both an audio and video file?
it does both. Two separate files. I have audio, have video. So
Okay.
I think with the Descript, I should be able to download both of them into it, and then just copy and paste it into one audio file. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go. It'll be easy enough.
sounds
Hopefully.
simple enough. It sounds simple enough.
A lot could go wrong, though. A lot could go wrong.
But
Hey, man, this has been great. I sincerely appreciate it, man. It's a good conversation, I think.
oh yeah, I think all the information that you put out there, I think it's going to help people, and that's what this podcast is about. It's just getting their information out there and let them know that there's crazy people like us that are trying to help people rather than make a buck.
Right. That's
Um,
right. That's right. That's right.
so
And then did we want to do a bit about kind of where they can find me, or how would you like to handle that?
yeah, I was just about to say, like, okay, so if somebody wanted to contact you, if they're struggling with addiction or sex addiction, how do they find you? Where do they go?
Yeah, just go to nomordesire.com. You'll find a free workshop there, free ebook there, my podcast as well, No More Desire. If you look that up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, plenty of free stuff. If you want to take it to the next level, my program information is on nomordesire.com as well.
All right. Well, that's easy enough, and highly recommend reaching out and contacting Jake. And he's definitely there to help. So it's been great having you on here. Like I said, sorry about all the technical issues.
It's all good, man. It's just part of the gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I sincerely appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, thank you so much.